If you cut people off easily, you've probably been called cold, difficult, arrogant, maybe even heartless. I've been called all of it, and for a long time I thought maybe they were right. But here's what nobody talks about. Sometimes cutting people off isn't emotional weakness, it's psychological self-defense. Let me explain. I don't just wake up and look for reasons to remove people from my life. It actually takes a lot to get me there. But once I see a pattern, I can't unsee it. That's the first thing people misunderstand. They think it's impulsive. It's not. It's accumulated data. For example, I had this friend who used to joke about my goals. Every time I talked about building something bigger, he'd say, "Relax. You're not that special." Everyone laughed, including me, but my brain didn't. It logged it. Then came the subtle competition, the passive-aggressive comments, the fake support. And here's the thing about me. I don't care about authority. I care about logic. So when someone tells me I'm changing because I'm improving, my brain doesn't feel guilt, it feels manipulation. Psychology calls this reactance. When someone tries to reduce your freedom or shrink your growth, your nervous system pushes back, hard. But here's where the conflict really started. When I stopped explaining myself, I used to over-explain everything. Why I couldn't come out, why I needed space, why I didn't like certain behavior, and I noticed something. The more I explained, the more they negotiated my boundaries. That's when I realized something uncomfortable. Some people don't want understanding. They want control. And I have a very low tolerance for that. Now let's talk about relationships. I once dated someone who constantly questioned my decisions, not because they were concerned, but because they needed to approve them, who I spoke to, what I believed, how I spent my time. At first I thought that was normal. Compromise, right? But compromise isn't identity erosion. There's a difference. One night she told me, "If you really cared about me, you wouldn't think that way." That sentence did it. Not the tone, not the argument, the principle. Because I don't mind being wrong, but I refuse to be programmed. That's called cognitive sovereignty. And once you have it, you can't fake submission. So I left. No drama, no screaming, just clarity. And suddenly, I was the villain. Here's the part nobody sees. Cutting people off isn't easy. It's isolating. When you refuse groupthink, when you refuse emotional manipulation, when you refuse incompetent authority, you lose people. Sometimes a lot of them. And people will say, "You think you're better than everyone." No, I just refuse to betray my own logic. There's a difference. Most people are motivated by belonging. I'm motivated by autonomy. Research in self-determination theory actually explains this. Some people can tolerate control if the reward is strong enough. Money, approval, status. I can't. If I don't believe in something, my nervous system rejects it. I physically can't pretend, and that makes people uncomfortable. Because compliance is easier. Integrity is expensive. I used to think cutting people off meant I had commitment issues or trust issues. But the pattern became clear. I don't cut people off because I'm cold. I cut people off when respect disappears, logic disappears, reciprocity disappears, when the relationship becomes extraction instead of exchange. That's not heartlessness, that's pattern recognition. But let me be honest about the danger. If you do this recklessly, you end up alone, not independent, alone. There's a difference. Autonomy isn't isolation. And that's the balance I had to learn. Not everyone who challenges you is controlling. Not everyone who disagrees is attacking. Maturity is knowing the difference. So if you cut people off easily, ask yourself one question. Are you protecting your ego, or are you protecting your autonomy? Those are not the same thing. If it's ego, you'll feel superior. If it's autonomy, you'll feel peaceful. That's how you know. They still call me difficult. I'm fine with that, because I'd rather be difficult to control than easy to manipulate. And if that makes me heartless in someone else's story, I can live with that. If this felt uncomfortably accurate, you're not broken. You just value freedom more than approval. And not everyone is built for that.